Hello, I'm going to talk about vibrational healing and vibrational astrology. Both vibrational healing and vibrational astrology are getting a lot of attention lately. So, for example, in the area of vibrational healing, a recent video that has over 3 million views on curing cancer with the 11th harmonic is very interesting. And I have recently made a video on the 11th harmonic in astrology. What's really interesting is that in both cases we're talking about how we are surprised that the 11th harmonic is so important. It's surprised me, and I've started coming up with theories for why the 11th harmonic is so powerful, and it surprised these researchers. Basically, what these researchers did is they tried playing different frequencies and just randomly trying different things. They try the 11th harmonic, and wow, they are getting incredible results. So, they're calling it the magic frequency. So the video is called "We've Found the Magic Frequency." So let me show it to you. Here it is. We found the magic frequency. This will revolutionize our future. It's on YouTube. And at about 5 minutes into the video, he starts explaining how they're trying different sounds, looking under microscopes, seeing what's happening. They try the 11th harmonic, and all of a sudden microorganisms start to shatter like a crystal glass can shatter. So he's calling it the magic frequency. So what is going on there? What's going on in vibrational astrology with the 11th harmonic? How are they connected? Let me explain some of these connections, and I also have some words of caution about being careful with this information. Okay, so back to my PowerPoint. All right, so one of the first things that I want to emphasize with this 11th harmonic, what is the 11th harmonic? Well, first of all, it involves two tones, or you can call them two sounds. So it's not one person singing a note, but two people singing notes. Or if it's somebody playing a flute, it's not one flute, not one pitch. It's two flutes being played, and it's the difference between the two pitches. And it's called the 11th harmonic for very simple reasons. One of the frequencies is 11 times greater than the other. We call that the 11th harmonic. So you probably know that when two notes are an octave apart, for example, the note A is 440, and if you double that frequency to 880, you're playing A an octave higher. So octaves are second harmonic. And if you go two octaves above a note, if you go from 440 to 880, up to the next number, what is it, 1760, whatever it is, you double it again, you're now two octaves higher, you keep doubling and going up another octave. So what these researchers found is that by playing one tone 11 times higher frequency than the other, you get this magical effect, this very powerful effect. Now, just to make this clear, 11 times higher is really a huge difference, right? Because if you're 2 times higher, it's an octave. 4 times higher, it's 2 octaves. 8 times higher is 3 octaves. So this is more than 3 octaves different, is what we're calling the 11th harmonic. Okay. Now, astrologically, how is it that we see harmonics? The way we see these harmonics astrologically is very simple. If you take a circle and you divide it into fifths, they would be 72 degrees apart. So starting with the point on the left, we go 72 degrees, that's 1/5, 2/5, and then 3/5, which is 2/5 the other way, and then 4/5, which of course is also 1/5 going the other way. We have these points that are fifths. And the idea is that when you take the circle and you divide it into fifths, the length of this string is 1/5 the whole circle, and it's vibrating 5 times higher. So by analogy to music, it's been proposed that these are just like sound frequencies, and the 5 vibration, which is simply dividing the circle by 5, is making a kind of a cosmic vibration, an astrological frequency that's 5 times higher. This is just an idea, a concept. People have played with this idea, and wow, it works. And we have a lot of videos. I've made hundreds of videos on this. The research that we've done, we have an annual Vibrational Astrology conference where we show the latest research, how we're applying this with people with mental and emotional problems. There's a long history to this theory of astrology, that you can simply take the circle, divide it by any number, and it's similar to a harmonic in music. So here we, in purple in the upper right, we divide the circle into 7 pieces, and now any planets that are separated from each other by 1/7 or 2/7 or 3/7 of a circle are vibrating to 7. And we can divide by any number. And one of the things that I found surprising is that when we look at the charts of people with severe emotional and mental problems, 11 shows up over and over and over again. And it's got us to thinking, why is this 11 so powerful? And we've come up with ideas on why that's true. So it's very interesting, 2 different areas finding the same result. Now, all of this is outside the mainstream of psychology and medicine, obviously. If this research that shows that microorganisms are getting shattered when 2 notes are played in a relationship that's an 11th harmonic, and if the research that we're doing in astrology continues to produce positive results, if you get positive results, you can replicate stuff, it will become mainstream. But right now, those replications have not been done to the standards of science, and there's huge skepticism about such radical ideas that are completely outside the framework of most thinking. So it hasn't reached the mainstream yet. But that's the idea. This is evidence-based astrology. This research in vibrational healing is evidence-based. They're looking under microscopes. They're seeing things happen. So we need to see that research get replicated, to have peer review, etc. And I believe we're going to get it because we're seeing the same things in astrology. Okay. So now, what can vibrational astrology tell us about vibrational healing? Well, here's a few things that we can anticipate based on what we have learned in vibrational astrology. Number 1, I predict that as people research the effect of these harmonics on living organisms, they are going to find there's not just one single vibration that's important. It's not only the 11th harmonic. They will probably find that the 7th harmonic is stabilizing. The 5th harmonic encourages growth. The 9th harmonic is soothing. I'm expecting this because this is what we found in our astrological research. These effects are more, you might say, subtle or not as initially conspicuous. I mean, they're not subtle in the long term, but initially just playing the 9th harmonic, you might not see the microorganisms changing, obviously as you're looking under the microscope. The 11th harmonic does have this kind of electrical sudden impact that's more noticeable. So, one thing that we can see in the relationship of vibrational astrology to vibrational healing is I'm anticipating that vibrational healing is going to be very similar to vibrational astrology, and it will conform to the same kinds of things that we have found. I also anticipate that the 22nd harmonic, if we double 11, will have some effects that are similar to the 11th harmonic. So these are things to look for in the research that I'm expecting to come out maybe over the next 3, 4, 5, maybe it'll take 10 years. If this research findings do get validated, this is what I expect. And I'm expecting that what we found in vibrational astrology will be very similar to what's found in vibrational healing. So far, it's very similar. Both of us have found that the 11th harmonic is very, very powerful. Now, just to show you, here's the video on we found the magic frequency. Here's a video that I made over here called Why the 11th Harmonic is Very Strong, Consecutive Harmonic Interweaving. So we've made some observations on the mathematics of what's going on with the 11th harmonic that indicates a reason for why it may be so important. So we've observed that it is, we didn't know why, and we're just theorizing on why. You see how we're on a very similar path as the vibrational healers, noticing that the 11 vibration is very, very powerful. Okay. Now, the future of medical astrology. Playing two tones in a vibration, we can call it a vibration or a harmonic. It's the same idea of planets in the birth chart will be found to stimulate the person's connection to that planetary configuration. So I am anticipating, and this may be down the road as people who are involved in vibrational astrology and vibrational healing work with this, that if somebody has a lot of planets, it doesn't even have to be a lot, say 3 planets in a 7 vibration, then playing music in that has 7th harmonic emphasis is going to help awaken and stimulate those energies and help the person express them. Now, here's a note of warning about this. The simplest and most direct way to create a harmonic sound is to get a free program that creates frequencies and play one frequency, one tone at any pitch, any frequency. Say you do A at 440. Then you go to a calculator, multiply 440 times 11, and then play it again at 11 times the frequency, and you'll have the 2 notes. I think that this is going to prove to be a little bit disturbing, maybe very disturbing. It can be great for very targeted, specific effects, such as the research in shattering microorganisms, something like that. But for psychological healing, for building health, these kinds of pure sounds are not what you find in nature. And they're so simplified, so extracted out of the complexity of nature that the effects are very singular and powerful. And when you listen to these harmonics played with pure sounds, they don't sound so nice. So, for example, if I go to, let's see if I even have it up here. Here's an online tone generator. It's at this website, szynalski.com/tone-generator. Anyway, you go to this website and you can play a tone. So I can play 440. So I'm on 440, or I can move this anywhere I want to anything. It's got a little arrow here, so I can set it exact, and I play the note. So it's playing that note. And then you can stop it, and then I can just go to this website again in another tab in my browser, change it, and play both of them. And so I can multiply 440 times 11, play it in one of my browser windows, play the 440, and now I can hear that relationship. So some people have been asking, how can I create it? That's a simple way to do it. Do you want to do it? Well, I am skeptical. I mean, these tone generators are great if you're testing somebody's ability to hear a certain pitch. Audiologists use this all the time to test your ability to hear things, and they can be great for tuning things or other musical or electronic things. But to think about using it to listen to psychologically, keep in mind that these kinds of pure tones are very different from what we usually hear. So, for example, here I'm at a website. You can see the website address at the top, which is showing the frequencies in a given note. Now, I don't remember. This is the note G played on a flute. Okay. So this is the note G played on a flute. Now, if you're not familiar with this may be a little bit surprising. But when you play a certain note, say on a flute versus a trumpet versus a guitar versus somebody singing it, it's all the same note, G. But why is the tone quality different? The timbre. How is it that we recognize the difference if they're all playing the same pitch? And what's interesting is that when you play the note G or any other note, you're actually playing multiple notes. So it's not a single note. Every note is like a chord. We usually think, well, that's a single note. I'll play a bunch of single notes together, I'll get a chord. But actually, single notes are already chords. They already have multiple frequencies. And it's only the bass one that stands out that we're calling the frequency. So here, on the x-axis, the horizontal axis, is the frequency. This is the actual frequencies of a particular flute. Of course, every flute has a slightly different tone quality, but they're similar. So any flute probably going to have a similar graph. Here's the frequency, and here's how strong it is. So this frequency here for the note G is very strong, but this is doubling it. This is about 500, and then we double it to what looks like 400, double it to 800, something like that. We're going an octave higher, and actually, when you're playing the note G on the flute, the G an octave higher is actually also being played. And that's called the second harmonic. Just means twice as many beats per second. And 3 times higher is even stronger. And this is the unique signature for this instrument. So this flute is going to have the bass note of G, the next octave pretty strong, the third harmonic very strong, fourth harmonic coming down a little bit, fifth down, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After 10 it starts to drop off, but still getting 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Then it starts getting fuzzier. So every instrument, every voice, everything that can produce a frequency is going to have a different profile or signature, whatever you want to call it, a combination of frequencies. Let me just show you another one. Let's see, what is this? This is the note F sharp. It's F sharp 5. 5 means at a certain octave. Somewhere in here it tells me what instrument it is. I don't remember. Let's see. What instrument is this? Oh, this is the flute. This is also a flute, but at a different pitch. I think the other one was a G4, so it's a lower. Yeah, this is G4. Now we go up an octave, almost an entire octave, to F sharp, almost an octave higher, and it looks different. Not only is the frequency different, but notice it's going down more gradually. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5 peaks a little bit, 6, 7, 8, 9. After 9, it starts to fade out. So even on the same instrument playing different notes, you get a little bit different profiles. Let me just show you one more. This is for a saxophone. And notice how the intermediate frequencies in between are smoother. Over here for the flute, it's kind of jagged in between the peaks. So it's a complex difference. And notice the saxophone just keeps going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th harmonic for the saxophone. Now, this is an important concept. This is where we're heading with vibrational healing. The 11th harmonic for the saxophone, playing, this happens to be the note G in the 4th octave. Let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is pretty darn high. So I think that the saxophone is carrying more 11 vibration. In fact, it is. I mean, that's pretty much a fact. It's carrying more 11 vibration than the flute. This would mean that the saxophone, at least in theory, is going to inspire greater 11 vibration impact. Wow. So now we're starting to come up with some specific ideas and potential applications for vibrational therapy. This would mean that if somebody has 11 vibration aspects in their birth chart, that listening at least to this note, a song isn't just one note, but we'd have to look at all the notes within, a couple of octaves that are normally played and see if the profile continues to emphasize the 11th harmonic as being high. And if it does, that would mean that saxophone would stimulate that 11 vibration more than the flute, which actually kind of makes sense because the flute is, it's a gentler kind of sound, a more mellow, sweeter sound, you could say. Well, I'm maybe not getting the best words, but you've got the idea. So this, if we look at the sound profiles for different instruments and look at it for different notes, we could start to see what is being emphasized and brought out by different instruments. And I expect that the frequencies here are going to have the same effect that they do astrologically. We already have our first indication of this, which is this very first research that's showing the 11th harmonic as having this destabilizing kind of electrical impact effect in medically or biologically. Exactly what we're finding is an indication that maybe all of this will develop and evolve. Now, personally, I think that using musical instruments that have a relatively high emphasis on certain frequencies is going to be much more effective and much more helpful than playing individual tones using something like this online tone generator, which is unnatural, overly simplified. It's like living, when you're playing those clear, simple tones, it's like living in a one-dimensional world or a place where there's only primary colors. You've erased all of the richness and texture, the warmth, everything. You've really stripped the soul out of it. And I can't imagine that that's going to be healthy. Oh, I think what's going to be better, more holistic, more organic, more full and solid and helpful is to find the instruments that have the frequency emphasis that we want and that will have the desired effect. A lot of this is understood just intuitively. Just people gravitate towards the things that attract them. So if we use common sense and our taste for things, our higher taste, we're drawn to these kinds of beautiful, intricate wave patterns. They're what we find in nature when the wind blows through the trees, when we hear the birds in the background, when we hear the waterfall, when we hear the beautiful, elegant music. It's going to be rich vibrational systems. This is exactly what we're finding in vibrational astrology. One of the reasons why people have resisted vibrational astrology is they feel, well, there should only be 3 or 4 or 5 aspects, or we should just divide the chart into sections. We don't need this rich, complex tapestry of vibrations. Well, that's just not the way nature works. It works, even a single note. This is just one note being played on one instrument already has a beautiful, intricate design and pattern to it. Okay, so I hope you see where all this is headed, that there are similarities and things are merging together. I've made many videos on how ideas in science and vibrational astrology, and here we're seeing another innovation in this vibrational healing also coming together with vibrational astrology. And as we work in these areas, we'll understand more and more how they work together and can be helpful. Okay. All right. So here's my warning about that we want the full richness. And I think that that's going to be where the healing will be, is getting these signatures of frequencies that are in the different instruments, for example. Okay. All right. And this is what I just talked about, that in vibrational astrology, we see the unique pattern in each chart. We see the complexity, the richness of the relationships. And this is exactly what we're going to be finding out in using vibrational healing and sound therapy. Also keep in mind that astrological vibrations are not equivalent to sound vibrations. So not everything is going to translate directly from astrology to sound and from sound to astrology, but there are many close interactions. And to give you an idea of what I mean by the complexity in vibrational astrology, this is going off your screen. Let me reduce this and bring this into here. Now you can see this. This is what we call a harmonic chart. Here's my 7th harmonic chart. This is a way to see 7 vibrations and related vibrations. So in my 7 vibration chart, Sun is trine Moon. And the trine is a 3, so it means my Sun and Moon are in 21 vibration. You can also see that my Moon is square Uranus, 90 degrees, and there's a 30-degree angle between Sun and Uranus. So everybody has different configurations with different orbs. My Sun trine Moon happens to be almost exact, extremely small orb. The Moon square Uranus, also a small orb, but bigger than the trine. And the semi-sextile has a thin line because the orb is relatively big for the maximum allowable orb. My point is that in vibrational astrology, when you look at these harmonic charts, we also call them vibrational charts, we see the specific pattern, the configuration for that person. And then we also go up from 7 to 21, and the Sun Moon turns into a conjunction, because now we're in 21 vibration. I'm just giving you an idea. You may not be able to follow all the details of what I'm saying, but I'm just giving you an idea of how in vibrational astrology we're looking at the complexity of vibrations. And even though I keep using the word complexity, and that may sound intimidating, like, oh my God, it's complex, it's like organic chemistry, I'll have to study like crazy. Actually, the interpretation in many ways is simpler than in other systems of astrology, because the rules are very simple and very clear. There are also things, I'm in the Sirius 3.0 software here. Here's something called a harmonic aspect grid, which shows you up to 360th harmonic, all of the vibrations and how strong they are between planets. So here's my Sun Moon in a 21 vibration. And you'll see Sun Venus repeated over and over, Sun Mars repeated over and over, multiple vibrations, just like looking at the note G being played by a flute. Just a single note, just the note G on a flute, is actually many vibrations connected together. So the beauty of music, the beauty of nature, are also seen in vibrational astrology. So vibrational astrology is moving closer and closer to the way we understand things in music and in science. Okay, all right, I covered that. I think I'm near the end here. And I just want to mention a few other interesting connections that the emphasis on vibration is coming into our lives in so many areas, not just vibrational astrology, not just vibrational healing, but all of science. We now have superstring theory proposing that everything is based on vibration. And I don't know if you've heard about this. This is another amazing discovery, and they're using the word magic. People are using the word magic for these things. A magic angle of 1.1 degrees. Now, this finding of the magic angle of 1.1 degrees, this is mainstream science. This is not some way far out of the box vibrational healing or vibrational astrology that mainstream science tends to be skeptical of and needs a lot of evidence before they'll start to accept it. This is mainstream. This is right out of the universities and research institutes. They've recently discovered a magic angle of 1.1 degrees. And what this is you take two sheets of a material called graphene, and you take the two sheets and you slide them 1.1 degrees, that exact angle, to each other. So they're offset by 1.1 degrees. How did they discover this? Mostly hit or miss, just like the discovery of the 11th harmonic with shattering microorganisms. They just moved at 1.1 degrees and wham, they started seeing unbelievable effects. Superconductivity happens when the two graphene sheets are separated by 1.1 degrees. Now, this cross-disciplinary thinking is very interesting. From the point of view of vibrational astrology, even though those scientists probably aren't interested in what somebody in vibrational astrology has to say, nevertheless, I can look at it, and how would I look at it from my viewpoint? I would see what fraction it is. And 1.1 degrees is 11 divided by 3600. That's just what it is. You can work out the arithmetic. And then what we do in vibrational astrology is we factor the numbers. And we believe that the vibration that's there is in the factoring. And very interestingly, 3600 equals 3 squared plus 4 squared plus 5 squared. That's a pretty cool thing. I mean, if you're a mathematician, you go, wow, because, mathematicians get excited about these simple patterns. They're all squared. And 3, 4, 5 will ring a bell for any mathematician because that's the famous sequence for the classic right triangle. The basic Pythagorean theorem. If you have one side of a triangle is 3, like 3 inches or 3 centimeters, and the other one's 4, you have the basic Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. It's just very interesting, beautiful kind of a number, 3600. What is the numerator? 11. So the 11 just keeps showing up. So 11 over this very harmonically beautiful denominator ends up having a extraordinarily powerful effect that creates superconductivity. Now, I don't know exactly why 11 over 3600 would do this. Just from my viewpoint, not being an expert in the chemistry and physics of how that's done. I would not have predicted it, but in retrospect, it makes sense. Again, we're seeing the 11 show up with these kinds of electrical, powerful, breakthrough kinds of things, sometimes destabilizing, sometimes accelerating things beyond the norm. So anyway, it's interesting how we're seeing frequency, angular distance show up more and more in different areas. And I also mentioned in another video that scientists have recently discovered that the sense of smell involves frequency, and the sense of smell is not so different from the sense of hearing. What I'm getting across here is that frequency, vibration, angular distance are showing up in lots of different places, more and more and more. And it's all coming together into a grander understanding. And astrology is integrating in with these other modes of understanding. Okay, so conclusions. Astrology is rapidly growing closer to mainstream science as number one. Theories in quantum biology. I recently made a video on quantum biology and its relationship to vibrational astrology. Theories in quantum biology, physics, and vibrational astrology are merging. I've made many videos on the similarities and developments in physics and vibrational astrology. Number two, VA is very evidence-based. Very, very evidence-based. We do controlled research studies. We remove selection bias, things like that. Very similar to the modern sciences. Also, information about vibrational astrology is readily available in YouTube videos, such as this particular one, and over 300 others that I've made and other people have made. Articles, books, classes by VA astrologers, and the annual VA conference. I think that what we're in the middle of right now, or at the beginning of, I should say, is a revolution. A revolution in our understanding of science, of mysticism, of life itself, and of astrology. And I've mentioned the VA conference, so let me just show you. If we go to astrosoftware.com and you go to the menu bar at the top and you go to conference and click on the Vibrational Astrology Conference, it's every year. The one in 2020 will be in late March, and it will be every year, and they're in North Florida and Gainesville, Florida. So this is all part of this movement. Okay, so my primary topic for this video is the similarities in vibrational healing and vibrational astrology. Some of the things we've noticed, we're at very, very early stages of exploring and understanding these things. I'm going to release another video soon on specifics of the relationship of musical notes to aspects, and that connects in with this video as well in terms of some of the underlying theories. So there's more and more information and discoveries that we're making that are bringing these areas together. And I've also given some suggestions on where I think things are headed. Some of those are common sense observations on what we find to be healing, what you experience and how they work, and how they're related to sound frequencies and vibrational astrology. Thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.